As Israelis are considering how to combat their wave of violence in city streets, the threat of terror is alive all across the world. And the UK is the latest country to face a viable threat as ISIS released a new propaganda video pointing its finger at the British Isles. The propaganda clip containing the execution of 5 men accused of spying for the UK and a message to Prime Minister David Cameron that promised to occupy, so to speak, Britain. It all came out earlier this week, but yesterday the British Prime Minister already responded by saying his country will not be cowed by ISIS, calling it a desperate move by a group that is losing territory. All that said, the ISIS video comes on the heels of days of heightened security all around the European continent and what officials describe as viable threats which shut down various cities across Europe. Britain itself, though, under that viable threat. Let's go straight to Britain, where we're joined from London by Jonathan Sacerdoti, I-24 News European correspondent. Jonathan, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, I don't know if you had a chance to actually listen to a bit of our discussion prior here in the show, but we were discussing the idea of civilians arming themselves to protect themselves of what we call the new terror, which I think goes across the globe. What are the reactions in Britain to this new ISIS video that came out, and are there calls for actually more heightened security, but that is different than what we're seeing these days?
This new ISIS video that has been released has, of course, been seen as a propaganda tool here in Britain. It shows a British man with a British accent talking directly to David Cameron, addressing him as an imbecile, and shows the killing of 5 people who are said to be informants to the British, perhaps assisting in the strikes that Britain is now undertaking in Syria as well as in Iraq. And at the end, the video rather chillingly has a small child also speaking with a British accent. People here have been trying to figure out exactly who the 2 figures are, the masked man and also the kid who has now been rather glibly named Jihadi Jr. It seems to be a British activity to try and think of stupid names for these people, perhaps in a counter-propaganda effort to try to minimize their effect. But there's no getting away from the fact that Islamic State has in some way replaced so-called Jihadi John, Mohammed Emwazi, who was killed in a drone strike, with this new figure wearing a very similar full-face mask and threatening Britain directly from what is said to be Syria.
For what is said to be Syria, but really quickly with you, Jonathan, when it comes to the fear level of the people in Britain, what are the reactions there? How are people feeling?
In Britain, people are concerned. There have been calls on the front page of newspapers here even calling for police to be armed more. Most of the police in Great Britain aren't, in fact, armed. And with these terror threats now increasing, it seems that people are concerned that there should be better protection in the case of a stabbing, which even took place here in a tube station on the London Underground, and the possibility of other attacks. A couple recently sent to prison for 25 and 27 years for plotting a bombing attack. We're told that 6 or 7 such attacks have been foiled by intelligence services in recent months and years. This is definitely something that does put fear into many British people's lives, but of course there is that desire to simply carry on as normal and have the intelligence services and police look after the safety of the people.
And do the work. I want to thank you, Jonathan, for joining us from Britain. We're still in studio though, with Mr. Ohana of the Likud Party. You wanted to say something about this?
Actually, if we could all take the weapons from everyone, I would say, okay, I'm all for it. But the situation as it is that the bad guys have weapons. I want the good guys can protect themselves too.